to get the infrastructure in place to implement it.
Yes, particularly when you've not started.
Okay.
What is the most alarming thing about that, what you just talked about? Which businessman goes into his business and say, well, we're going to cut off this revenue base, but we have a lot of time to begin a new one. I mean, it's just crazy.
Around these kind of times.
And be allowed this to happen, and every Bahamian sits down and say, wow, he's the minister, they're the government, they must know what they're talking about.
Man, Shivago Lang, I like him, you know. He's a nice guy, nice young fella, but he seems like he's out to lunch on this one.
I do not blame Minister Lang. I think he's following orders.
Are you blaming the Prime Minister?
Oh yeah, the buck stops with him.
Well, I feel sorry for him because, you know, he's a lawyer, he make plenty of money in the law business, but he don't know nothing about his tax. Is not one of his areas of expertise.
Well, it's not, see, I do not believe it's that simple. It is an issue that goes directly to the survival of the Bahamas. That's what it is.
Okay.
See, we are not trying to believe that the Bahamas is at the stage in its development where it can just do things because everyone else is doing it. You don't raise your kids that way.
Okay.
Not because the neighbor is doing something, you tell your kids, well, that's the way to do it because the neighbor has a big house, they got a big cars, they got, you know, you don't do that. You are responsible for the people in your house, the children in your house, and this is similar to what I'm saying now. The Prime Minister has a responsibility as leader of this country for the citizens of this country.
Okay.
And you must look in your house before you go outside.
But you know, Paul, and that's why I bought this book. I'm not going to quote from it today, but I brought it as a visual aid for people to be familiar with this book. All Things Censored by Mummy Abu Jamal. He has been in death row or in the prison system of America for the last 25 years. He's one of the most eloquent, critical legal scholars I've come across. He's not a lawyer. But as a lawyer, I have to acknowledge him as probably the highest critical legal scholar. Now, I'm not going to read from him, but I bring this because I think everybody, especially in my Congress, the Bahamas, not my Congress, the Bahamas Pan-African National Congress, I want them to read this. But Mumia analyzes this whole thing as running for the interests of a financial, mega, international based multinational corporation based that has subverted governance in third world countries.
I agree with that.
It's put America on a path of having a prison industrial complex where they have more people incarcerated than any other country on the planet, and they execute. The only other country that comes close to them in execution is China. And you have this, his analysis is that all of these governments out there, the United States and Canada, England, the Caribbean, Africa, they've all been brought under the governance of a world order that is empowering the financial wizards of the Western world at the peril of the third world countries. So people who live in ghettos and inner cities, and relating this now back to our earlier discussion on the police, but people in inner cities and ghettos, they live in a cycle of losing. You end up in jail because you're born and you're poor. When you appear before the court, you have 2 strikes against you. You're charged with a crime and you're also poor. The legal system, I think, seems to be looking for the interests of rich people, Brother Moss. And I would just like your take on it, that if your clients had been from Life at Key, would they be treated like the way, by the way, which community are your clients from?
St. Cecilia.
St. Cecilia. Yeah, would they have treated them, you think in your minds they'd have had the same media attention? No,
I think that this clearly we would not even be having this discussion if that were the case.
So racially?
But I think it's not racial, it's really racial to the extent that you're talking different stratosphere economically, all right? It is economics. Let me give you an example. You talk about how the state, seemingly, if you're born in a low income or ghetto, you could find yourself before the courts because of where you were born. The fact is that any country that calls itself a country and wants to be known as one ought to have representation for those people, paid for by the state. Simply because if the state is going to use taxpayers' money, that is the police, the judiciary, the prosecutors in the Attorney General's office, to prosecute.
And the public relations officer too.
And the public relations officer.
Don't leave him out.
To prosecute an individual, that individual ought to, I believe, be equally armed with the same protection from the state by having qualified lawyers with resources to defend him.
You think any government has been serious about providing any?
No one has been serious about it, but I believe that the future generation will see to it that it happens.
But if you go in the house now, because you know, this is a pet theme for me, because it seemed like the government content to dump legal aid on my back. And I going on sabbatical. So they better find another back, because you know, it ain't be my back. But when you get in the House Assembly, I ain't say if now, when you get in, and I mean this, what you gonna do to transform our legal situation, but my lord, I mean, I don't want to, what you can do about Nassau Street? All those people line up waiting to go to court for 2-3 hours, 4 hours.
It's pathetic, because when you see that, it tells you that there's no planning. Can you imagine the lost man hours by people just waiting? You know, the productivity falls when people are just waiting around for court. You tell everyone to come to court at 10 o'clock. I mean, it's just absolute nonsense to me.
You think the Prime Minister knows about this?
Yeah, of course he knows about it.
You think he drive past Nassau Street during them time of the day?
They know about it, but I think that it is not one of their priorities.
But why we don't go pick him up one day and carry him to Nassau Street? I serious, I mean, I'll go get him with you, you know. I mean, the police might lock me up when we go to see him. And you know, he's my friend, but I mean, I might not have no access.
Oh, you don't have to do that. But we can carry
him to Nassau Street, let him come see.
But he knows it. He doesn't have to go there to know it, because he's been around for a while. He knows the problems of the system. But I submit that there are so many problems in this country that people feel overwhelmed, and perhaps that may be his position. Okay, well,
we just have to take a break. Mr. Christie and Mr. Ingram, y'all come down to Nassau Street and see the light thing, yeah? He say y'all know. I giving y'all the benefit of the doubt. We'll be right back.